Natalia remembered lighting candles on the tree, going to Mass to pray for peace, and Hildegard cooking an enormous roast goose Natalia's mother had procured on the black market. At school she wore a dark blue tunic, a white blouse, itchy black stockings, black shoes, a double-breasted wool coat with brass buttons. There were 87 pupils from the age of 6 to 18. That first year, Natalia was teased when she didn't always understand the other girls' Bavarian German, and someone stole her blue Teddy Hermann bear from the pillow on her bed. Without him to comfort her, she couldn't sleep at night or speak in class, which infuriated one of the nuns, who struck her across the knuckles with a ruler. A pair of gloves Hildegard had knitted for her disappeared, and outdoors, when playing in the snow, her hands turned blue with cold. A girl called Claudia lent her a pair of gloves lined with sheep's wool. Natalia and Claudia became best friends, although the nuns decried their exclusivity and forbade them to sit together in class, where they had a lamentable tendency to giggle and whisper, Sister Johanna said, like chimpanzees. Claudia's mother was English. Her father, a glassware merchant in Rothenburg, had gone to war with the Royal Bavarian Army. In October 1918 he fell in action in France. Claudia went home for the funeral and stayed with her mother and brother for 2 months, returning with a black mourning band on her coat sleeve and a cough that turned out to be the start of the Spanish influenza. The illness swept through the convent, afflicting the nuns and older girls first, and working its way down to Natalia's class. She was one of the last to become sick, and was put to bed in the infirmary, where she heard a nursing sister say, "This one is very ill." When the fever at last broke, she opened her eyes and saw her mother leaning over her with a glass of water. "Just a sip, Natusia," she said. "Just a sip." Natusia was a pet name Natalia's papa, who had been half Russian, had given her. Every morning her mother came to the convent from the Gasthaus, where she'd rented a room. She carried trays of soup and dry toast from the kitchen up to the dormitories and the infirmary, changed bedsheets, administered alcohol baths to reduce fever, tenderly held girls racked by coughing. When the invalids began to recover, Natalia's mother amused them by recounting the adventures of a girl whose name was Beatrice, and who lived in Buenos Aires in a mansion with rose-coloured walls and a southern aspect, near a park and a racetrack and a tennis court. This girl, Beatrice, had a governess who often travelled with her by train to Montevideo or Rosario, where they had tea and went into shops, pretending to be locals. The governess, who came from Swabia and was only a girl herself, liked to take long walks with Beatrice into the wilderness. They were not afraid of poisonous frogs or stinging insects, or even of jaguars or of getting lost. The governess carried a pocket compass that indicated true north, even in the southern hemisphere, where the stars at night were not the stars of Europe. What happy times they had, those two, Natalia's mother said, playing with a necklace of small blue beads around her throat. She sat up a little straighter in her chair and said that, sadly, an idyll cannot last. For some unspecified dereliction of her duties, Beatrice's parents sent the governess home to Swabia, and those paradisiacal days came abruptly to an end. The girls said, "Is that all? Tell us more, Frau Faber." They wanted to know, what happened to Beatrice? Where was Beatrice now? In those days, her mother said, it was customary for Europeans living in Argentina to send their children home to be educated, and that was what Beatrice's parents did. They sent her to her mother's brother and his wife in Berlin. Onkel Fritz and Tante Liesel, a childless couple in late middle age, adored Beatrice. They called her their